What's up, guys? Welcome back to Everyday Money. Today I want to talk with you about 5 attitude changes that I had to make in order to really start to grow my wealth and progress financially. But if this is your first time to the channel, be sure that you subscribe to grow your wealth, increase your success, put you on the road to financial freedom. Also be sure to smash that like button for me for the YouTube algorithm. So throughout my life, I've had kind of just a whatever attitude towards money, kind of like a lot of people out there have in general, where, you know, you just make it and you spend it and you put a little bit away. In my case, my retirement account was automatically withdrawn, just like a lot of folks are out there. So it was kind of just, you know, outside of my mind. And it took me about 30 years to just finally get on the path of, listen, if I want to live the life that I want, if I want to make the lifestyle that I want for myself, I'm going to have to go a little bit farther and kind of get a little bit more disciplined. And these are the 5 attitude changes that I've made in order to make that possible and to start really increasing my wealth and getting my finances to where I would like them to be. And now it's not like I sat down and I said, well, I'm going to come up with 5 things and we're going to do them and that's going to be the long-term plan. These are just things that I did over time. And now looking back over the last 6 or 7 years, I can say that, you know, these are 5 things that I did that have really helped quite a bit and amped up my financial life. These aren't in any particular order as far as one being more important or what I, did first or last or whatever. I just started writing these down, and as I wrote them down, they just became the order that they're in. The first one that I want to talk about is that I could work harder to become wealthy. And there is a lot to say about working harder. You know, people do that and they just expand on what they're doing and just become experts in their field. But what I'm talking about is essentially just putting in more hours. And I thought that I could just put in more hours and I could get a part-time job in addition to my full-time job, and that would get me more money, which technically it does, but it's you continue to have to trade your time for that money. And so what I learned was that working alone isn't going to do it for me. I really have to invest, and I have to invest a pretty substantial portion of my income in order to have my money work for me in a way that is essentially, self-repetitive and will just continue to go on and on. I had to get into more investing on my own, outside of my retirement account at work, and put money into different investments that I personally manage in order to get the best returns out of them and get money that I can use right now instead of when I'm 59 and a half or older. And so what I did is I started building multiple streams of income. I started building passive streams of income. And when I say passive, that's passive because nothing is really passive. I'll get into that in a whole nother video, but you get kind of, I guess instead of passive, I would like to say delayed gratification income. And that's so that my money is working for me. So I don't actually have to go out and trade my time in order to get that income. It makes money while I sleep. It makes money while I'm on vacation, doing anything like that. And I'm going to continue to build those so that I don't have to work as hard in order to become wealthy. My second big money attitude that I had to change, and I think a lot of people have this attitude, and this is kind of a big one for me, is that stocks were too risky to invest in. Now, I was born in the early 80s, and so I got to see the dot-com bubble burst. I got to see the stock market after 9/11. I got to live through the entire housing market crash, stock market crash that went along with that. And those things, they weigh on you. And I got the idea that stocks were too risky, mainly because of headlines, in news articles, and people say, just individuals saying, oh, it's too risky, you'll lose your money. What about a crash? What about whatever? And that was totally the wrong attitude for me to have, because I didn't seek out the knowledge of what really happens in the stock market over time, and that you can pretty much guarantee on a 10% return over the course of 5 to 10 years. In that 1 or 2 years where you get these massive headlines of everyone loses everything and stockbrokers are jumping off of ledges and such, and really that it is like 100% risky to not have your money invested and just in savings. Inflation will just eat away at your savings at about 3 or so % a year. So it's almost like 100% risky versus being almost 100% guaranteed to continue to go up. Maybe not every day, not every week, not even every year, but over the course of, let's say, 10 years, you're going to grow your money unless something just totally out of the ordinary would happen, that we can't foresee, some sort of black swan event. Even those that have happened so far, we're above all of those. And so being invested in stocks has been one of the largest money changes in my attitude, and it's created for me quite a bit of wealth already in the short period of time that I've been actively investing in stocks on my own. The third attitude that I had to wrap my head around, and this is it was a very toxic attitude that I had for a while, is that money is a tool and not the goal. For the longest time, I had a very unhealthy attitude that money was the goal, like having a lot of money, and that puts that thing on a pedestal, and it really makes you kind of crazy, and it gets you greedy that you want all the money. But what I was really wanting, but I didn't really I never sat down and thought about it, was that I wanted freedom. Like, I didn't want to have to ask for a raise. I didn't want to have to ask for a day off. I just wanted freedom. And money is the tool that gets you the freedom. It would be like, if I could use an example, like if a construction worker valued a hammer above anything. Thought, well, if I could just have 1 million hammers, I'd be set. And it's not true. Wouldn't do anything but have a pile of hammers. If I have a pile of money, but have nothing else, then it's worthless. So the money is the tool that is going to allow me to get the freedom, and that makes money itself so much less important, mentally for me, when it's not the goal to accumulate the giant amount of cash. The goal is the freedom to essentially do whatever I want, and I need to make the money to get there. That was a big change for me. My fourth attitude that I have that I needed to change in order to really start accelerating my wealth production is that building wealth takes a massive amount of money. And that, I think, is another common misconception among a lot of folks. And it's totally untrue. And what I was doing was I was always waiting to invest or put money into something until I had a lot more money. And I think a lot of people do this, and they just wait and wait and wait, and all of a sudden their life has gone by and they don't have the benefit of time for their money to grow. Truth is that small amounts of money compounded over time, invested into whatever it is that you invest in, add up to huge sums of money. I made another video where I said $1 a day invested in an S&P 500 fund over 50 years would end up being $500,000 at the end of that 50 years. Now, that's a long period of time, but that's a very small amount of money. So if you put a lot more money in there, it would grow at a rate much faster than the 50 years that you would need to get to $500,000. And when I learned this, I was like, well, that was stupid that I did that for so many years, just waiting. And there was always money to invest. Yeah, there was always extra, and I was kidding myself. Because I just didn't want to take the time or have the self-discipline to take those small amounts of money and invest them in order to set myself up in the future. So my fifth attitude that I had to change in order to start really growing my wealth, and again, in no particular order, is that I was always focused on saving more money versus increasing my income. I thought if I could just put that money away, it would become a large amount of money. And the stupid thing was I was putting it all in savings accounts to where it was, earning like 0.1% annually and was just getting destroyed by inflation. You can never get ahead that way. You'll never get ahead by just saving money in a savings account. It won't do anything for you except lose money to inflation. So I always was trying to do that instead of increasing my income. I would do what I could to increase my income, but I really didn't focus on it much. But the problem with saving, especially other than, it gets eaten up by inflation, is that there's a lower limit on inflation or on saving. When you save money, you can only get down to so much before you are at your lower limit where you just have your basic expenses, you're living like a hermit, and you can't save any more money, and that's where you're stuck. Whereas increasing your income has no upper limit whatsoever. So what I started doing was I switched my thinking. I said, I'm going to stop worrying about saving so much. I'm going to worry about increasing my income. And then at the same time, I was kind of getting more financially educated as time went by, I was like, well, I'm going to stop saving money in a savings account and also investing it so it makes money with my money, and I don't, I have to make every dollar with my time. So here's what I started doing. I started investing in real estate, physical real estate, I'm a landlord, and doing that. That has lots of benefits, lots of tax benefits, income benefits. I started investing in stocks, and I started investing in index funds, not individual stocks, because I can't pick stocks and neither can you, and no one can time the market. So I just cram that money into index funds. I switched jobs. I'm in the same field that I was before, but I'm at an employer that pays me much more for the exact same job. The benefits are much better. The stress level is much lower, and it's overall a better thing. But I went and I sought out a higher paying job in the same field and increased my income in order to actually save more money. And then I started doing other things, such as starting a couple YouTube channels. I have this channel. I have an outdoors channel that I do because I love the outdoors as well, and extreme sports and shooting and things like that. It's Rugged Adventures if you guys want to check that out. But these things should all end up being multiple different income streams that, even though not one of them may be a large amount of money other than my primary income, they'll all, these little trickles end up running into each other, and then they become a stream and a river of income coming in that I'm not necessarily trading time for, every day. Once I've put the work in, they continue to pay over time, and then I'm able to save and invest that money that I'm getting in from that income and turn it into more money. And the kicker to this is, now if you save a certain amount of percentage, the amount of money, the gross amount of money that you're putting into that will be much higher because your income is now higher, versus you trying to save down until you're just at your very basic level of expenses like housing and utilities, and you're eating rice and beans and you're miserable, and it just doesn't sound like any fun whatsoever. So there you have it, folks. Those are my 5 attitudes that I had to change about money. I hope they can help you. I hope they can help you sooner in life, maybe in your 20s, maybe in your teens. It took me until I was about 30 to really get my financial life together. I mean, I was doing fine, but just to really focus in and get, on the path that I wanted to, visualize a goal and then start working towards it. Definitely subscribe to this channel to grow your wealth, increase your success, put you on the road to financial freedom. Be sure to like this video so you see more like it, and to help this video out in the YouTube algorithm. I appreciate you guys watching today, and I'll see you next time.